Into one of the biggest aviation disasters that the country has witnessed, the AI-171 crash. Now, US media, in this breaking news, we bring to you what the US media has come out to report. AI crash probe focus on pilot Sabarwal. Air India crash probe focuses on the actions of the plane's captain. Wall Street Journal has come out to report. July 17, and this is from Reuters, a cockpit recording of the dialogue between the two pilots of Air India flight that crashed last month indicates that the captain cut the flow of fuel to the plane's engines, the Wall Street Journal has reported on Wednesday. The newspaper cited people familiar with the US officials' early assessment of evidence that was uncovered in the investigation into the June 12 crash in Ahmedabad that killed 260 people. The first officer who was flying the Boeing opens new tab 787 Dreamliner asked the more experienced captain why he moved the fuel switches to the cutoff position seconds after lifting off the runway, and that is what the report has come out to reveal. Now, the two pilots involved were Captain Sumit Sabarwal and the first officer Clive Kundar, who had total flying experiences of 15,638 hours and 3,403 hours respectively. India's AAIB Directorate General of Civil Aviation, Ministry of Civil Aviation, Boeing and Air India did not immediately respond to Reuters' requests for comments on the Wall Street Journal report. A preliminary report, however, into the crash released by the Indian Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau, that is the body that's investigating, one of the bodies that's investigating the matter, on Saturday said that the fuel switches had switched off from run to cutoff. A brief conversation where one of the pilot asks the other why the transition was done of the fuel switch, to which the other pilot says that he did not do it. But now there seems to be more behind that very 2-second or probably a second's conversation that had taken place between the two pilots. The report did not, however, mention how the switches were flipped. Initially, there was an angle being looked into whether the switches had malfunctioned, which is why they had in fact transitioned from being on to cutoff. But now, from run to cutoff, but now we are given to understand from this very Wall Street Journal report that there seems to be more that have gone down, and Captain Sumit Sabarwal, who also tragically lost his life in this very incident, his role is being looked at and is being focused at. So these are the latest details that we're bringing to you viewers. Amit Bhardwaj joins us on the broadcast for more details at this point. Amit, the pilot's role is something that's being looked at since day one. There has been an angle in the investigation of whether this could have been humanly caused. This very crash could have been the responsibility of one of the pilots. They were the ones who were accountable because of the very switch that later in fact was revealed. The switch transmission is what led to it. But who flipped the switch, or rather how did the switch flip? That remains to be the question still, and now the focus comes to Captain Sabharwal.
Well, Shreya, a section of Western media has been continuously reporting in a manner and way that it boils down to the role of the pilot. You would remember a few days back, the headlines after the AAIB report in a section of Western media was pilot's confusion possibly led to the crash of AI-171, which in fact was not the case when we go by the facts of AAIB report, because the AAIB report did not directly blame either the pilot or the technical glitch, or for that matter, Air India or Boeing for that matter. What we certainly know that the crash happened due to the transition of the fuel control switches, which is supposed to be on run position, and it transitioned from run to cutoff immediately after takeoff. Does the AAIB report mention whether this transition happened due to human error? No. Does this report, AAIB initial report, indicate that a technical glitch? No. Yes, the entire investigation we have been reporting since the day AAIB report was out will be on 3 angles. Number one, whether there was a technical glitch with the FCS, and if yes, what might have led to that particular situation. Number two, was it a manual error because of the CDR data that's available, the conversation that happened between Captain Sabharwal and pilot Clive Kundar? So that angle is also being looked into. Third angle is whether it was due to malfunction of any other component which would have led to this transition of the fuel control switches. from run position to cut off right after the aircraft took off from Ahmedabad airport. And that is why even the OEMs, that is the original equipment manufacturers, have been roped in. Now the Indian and international pilot associations have time and again repeated that any insinuation which tries to pin the blame on the pilot should be avoided at this point in time. And rightly so, because neither Air India nor Boeing are off the radar of this particular investigation. And this angle of whether there was, mistake on the behalf of the pilots, some human error, manual error, that is also being looked at this point in time. So zeroing down on Captain Sabharwal's role is something which that would make the Pilots Association also uncomfortable. Yes, certainly. Every aspect is being looked into in this particular investigation. How did that fuel switches transition from run to cutoff? Only three possibilities could be: the technical glitch with the Boeing aircraft system itself, that's being investigated; manual error, that's being investigated; and so is the other component aspect. And that is why OEMs have been roped in as well, who are assisting in the entire investigation. Back to you.
Right. Amit, you have been tracking this very probe since day one. Let's try and understand here. We've spoken at length with regards to what might have gone down with the fuel transitions, the fuel locks, the fuel switch lock at that point. That is what was being primarily focused upon when the report had first come out. But now, if we look at the pilot's role, the conversation that has come out from the very recordings that were made in the cockpit, that still doesn't clearly reveal whether it was a confusion that led to the very switch being transitioned from run to cutoff, or was there a particular error that took place, technical error that took place, which led it to, in fact, be transitioned. So while, yes, we respect what the Pilots Association is saying, that no insinuations should be made before the probe is completed, but at the same time, it cannot be completely overlooked when we are speaking of a probe of this sort, of such a deadly crash that's taken place.
You're absolutely right, and that is why, as we are also reporting, that all angles are being looked at this point in time, which might have led to this, fuel cutoff switches transition. And that could be a technical glitch, that could be a manual error, that could be, error with some other component which might have led to this glitch of the FCS. So all of that angle is being investigated at this point in time. If we go by the conversation that has happened, which has been recorded in the CVR, I'm sure there were more conversation, but in the AAIB report, because it has focused upon this fuel cutoff switches, and hence that contextual text has come out where Captain Sabharwal is asking pilot Clive Kunder as to whether he has transitioned the fuel control switches from run to cutoff, which he asked.
Amit, I will stop you there just for you to reiterate once again, because initially it was not clear which pilot has said what to each other. It was pilot 1 and pilot 2 in the very report that had come in. You're saying it was Captain Sabharwal who had asked the co-pilot Clive Kunder, is it?
Shreya, well, that's what the experts are indicating at, because what happens is that now the operations happen in such a manner that there is a pilot flying, which in this case was pilot Clive Kunder. So he was, in charge of flying the craft, and the other pilot now is in role of pilot monitoring. So Captain Sabharwal was in the role of pilot monitoring for the day. And that is why the experts are saying that this particular question would have been from Captain Sabharwal asking Clive Kunder as to whether he has switched off the flight control switches, to which the pilot says, no, I have not. He denied it. So that is a contextual text. There are other conversations which might have been recorded in the CBR as well. But for now, this text has come out because the focus of the investigation seems to be the fuel control switches transition and what might have led to that particular situation.